Welcome to Notsam's 90-Day Dissection. I'm Sam Roberts, and this is the show where we break down this week's contribution to the 90-Day Fiancé universe. After last week's Carnival of Carnage, this week's episode was about as romantic as you could possibly expect any episode to be this season. From marriages to proposals to more private investigators than the entire film noir era, the regular episodes of this obscenely long season ended with a bang. So let's dissect it, shall we? This is episode 15 of season 4 of Before the 90 Days, aptly named, and I kid you not, The Never-Ending Story. We didn't talk about the saga of the Williams and Yolanda on last week's dissection because it's a 25-minute story that's lasted all season, but somehow it's still great TV. So Yolanda met this guy, Williams, with an S, on Instagram. He sent her a whole bunch of pictures. He's looking great. He's got this ripped physique. Unfortunately, the camera on his cell phone doesn't work, so he's not able to video chat, but presumably he's got a friend who's a professional photographer because he's got all these great headshots. She tries to meet the Williams and fly to England. The Williams is from Manchester. Williams says, okay, come fly to England. She goes, what airport? He goes, I don't know. She goes, Manchester? And he goes, fly into London. She goes, you mean Heathrow? He goes, yeah, sure. She goes, but that's so far away. He goes, fine, fly into Manchester. She's asking way too many questions. He disappears from Instagram entirely. Somehow, his Instagram profile has been replaced with a Nigerian account. So let's add up the fact that he won't video chat. He calls himself Williams. He says he's from Manchester, but has no idea of British geography whatsoever. And his Instagram account was taken down and replaced with a Nigerian account. She texts him. He says, my Instagram account was hacked. She says, are you Nigerian? He doesn't respond. And within a few days, she's got an email saying, hey, we're some Nigerian people, and we have naked photos of you and your address. So please send us money. She's very confused by this because the only people that she has sent her address and naked pictures to is Williams. Yolanda's kids told her she's being catfished. She said, kids, you got to give this one to me. Yolanda's husband died not too long ago, and she's recently lost a bunch of weight, so she's looking for love in all the wrong places. Yolanda's kids taught her how to use a reverse Google image search, and Yolanda put in the Williams pictures and got back a bunch of stock photos. So this week, Yolanda, at the behest of her children, talked to a private investigator. We meet this private investigator, and he might as well have had dollar signs in his eyes. If there is anything that we've learned from this season of Before the 90 Days, it's being a private investigator might be the easiest money in America. Certainly easier than finding an American woman on the internet to marry. So Yolanda explains her situation to the private investigator, and after responding with an eye roll so visible Ray Charles would have been offended by it, he lets Yolanda know that without doing any research whatsoever, he can almost guarantee that she is being catfished. It may be repetitive, but I could watch Yolanda's look of shock at receiving the exact same information every single week as many weeks as it was presented to me. Yolanda, I feel for you. I am sympathetic for that desire for love. But when your entire family and everyone around you is telling you that you're a fool, either you have a terrible support system or they're right. You know, I had somebody in the comments of last week's dissection ask why Darcy is even on this season. Darcy is on this season because she is the GOAT. She is the Jordan of 90 Day Fiancé. She is the Babe Ruth of televised marriage visas. Does Darcy even have a relationship on this season? No. Does she just come on every week and announce that she and Tom are done? Maybe. In 15 weeks of television, has she added even a hint of new content? I guess not. But Darcy is an American treasure. This week, she said that she doesn't understand why the last 3 years of her love life have been so difficult. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that she's decided to spend the entire 3 years on a reality show. Look, Darcy, I think there's love out there for you. Get back on those international dating websites, call up TLC, and tell them to follow you. You find yourself a new man, Darcy, and you let me watch. I'm going to be honest, Geoff with a G and Varna slipped in my rankings this week. Still probably the second best couple on the show. Geoff with a G started the show by talking to the girl he was trying to be in a relationship with, Mary, about why it wasn't Varya's fault that Varya just showed up on his doorstep. Varya didn't even know that Mary would be there. So it's not Varya's fault that he is now sleeping with her again. Mary was like, huh? Geoff was like, don't worry. And the way he figured he would solve the problem was with the phrase, let's just go hang out. Don't worry, Mary. Let's just go hang out. Mary, being the gem that she is, decided to just go hang out, where somehow it actually got worse. Varya said, Mary, can we go talk? They went off into a corner to talk to each other, where Varya, talking to Mary like a friend, said, if you care about Geoff, you'll stay away. Somehow that sounded even more intimidating coming from a Russian accent. Unfortunately, that still doesn't go well. Mary gets upset because there's some Russian stranger that seems to be threatening her and is literally stealing her boyfriend right in front of her face. Varya's upset because Mary's upset. Varya leaves. Geoff with a G is sitting there like, I don't know how all this is happening to me. And he decides the only way he can make things better is the next day taking Varya on a sightseeing tour of Knoxville, Tennessee. And he gathers up his sons and he brings all three of them right up to the top of the sun sphere for what is undoubtedly the best scene in the entire episode this week. The question that comes out of Geoff with a G's son's mouth leaves Geoff so upset with the fruit of his loin. Geoff with a G's son says, he's looking out into the great skyscape of Knoxville, and he says, so you guys, you got a lot of skyscrapers in Russia? To which Geoff looks at his son. And his eyes say only one thing. You f***ing idiot. He looks at him and he goes, Russia's huge. But it's as if to say, you stupid moron. Why would you ask that? This is my girlfriend. If you sound stupid, she's going to think I'm stupid. You need to leave. Geoff, this is your son. You got to calm down. Is it the smartest question in the world? No. But don't make the kid feel bad. He goes, Russia's huge, you fucking idiot. The moment is going to leave me laughing for weeks. By the end of the episode, they've gotten super romantic. Geoff with a G takes Varya on this crazy romantic tour of this like wishing well or something like that. And he decides to get down on one knee and once again propose to Varya. Because when you meet a woman in Russia and you propose to her and she says no, and then you stop talking to her for several weeks, and then she shows up to your doorstep and she curses out your girlfriend and she makes a scene at the bar you hang out with your friends, and she won't talk to any of your friends, and she makes you curse out your kids, you don't let her get away. I can't wait for the marriage of Geoff with a G and Varya. A love story unfolding right before our very eyes. And by the way, what of Mary? Poor, delusional, thirsty Mary. Truly the eponine to Geoff's Marius. Get some culture. Baby girl Lisa is officially off the market. Look, there's still no Michael and Angela, but there was something wonderful about the a cappella version of I'll Be There For You that Usman sang to baby girl Lisa at their wedding. If watching what Usman went through this season just to gain access to the United States doesn't make you feel patriotic as an American, I don't know what will. I don't mean to doubt the authenticity of their love. I'm sure it's wonderful. Watching a wife on her wedding night refer to her new husband as her Prince Charming, and then seeing the husband announce he and his wife as husband and white woman is something truly magical. Man, being Big Ed's kid is tough. Somebody gave Big Ed the business in our comments last week, and they were right. Big Ed failed at finding love after he lied about his height, told Rose several times she needed to get an STD test, told Rose that she needed to brush her teeth more, told Rose that she needed to shave her legs. He was outwardly disgusted by the way she lived her life in the Philippines, and he sweated a lot. But all I could do was feel sympathy for Big Ed's kid. Can you imagine if the entire internet made fun of your dad? As I watched Big Ed talk to his child this week, all I could think about was, what if the internet kept talking about the fact that my dad had no neck. I mean, my dad does have a neck, but her dad doesn't. It can't be easy. I don't know how you would respect him after that. I mean, all that said, I also think that adult children who complain about their parents finding love with younger women in the Philippines are generally haters who need to mind their own business. So maybe we're even Stevens. Okay, here's what we've been waiting for. At the buzzer, David and Lana come back last episode to steal the show. They are number one couple again. The second best moment of the night, behind only Geoff with a G being awestruck at his kid's stupidity, was the look of utter shock that David had on his face when Lana actually showed up to the dinner that they had planned. I've seen lotto winners look less surprised. David wouldn't have looked that surprised if Ed McMahon showed up at his house with a giant Publishers Clearinghouse check. And Ed McMahon is dead. At the dinner, not only does David get Lana to commit to communicating with him outside of their pay-per-word dating website, which is a huge win after 7 years, but he also gives her the gift of an iPhone, even though she already has one. Lana begrudgingly accepts the iPhone, and David never asks why Lana is acting like she's doing him a favor by accepting this gift. That is the kind of power that Lana has. By the way, David does later in the episode use this iPhone to communicate with his girl. He leaves her a voicemail after she doesn't pick up. Another private investigator. This is Sergey, one of the investigators that David hired to look into Lana. Sergey emails David and he says, "Hey, David, here are some links. Lana is still on a bunch of Russian dating websites." David clicks the links. He confirms that that is indeed Lana that's on those websites. And he emails Sergey back to let him know in no uncertain terms that he can go himself. That's right. He emails Sergey a picture of himself with the real Lana, which is a sick burn to a private investigator that he had hired to give him that exact information. It only gets worse for Sergey as David closes the email, if you read really closely, with "Lana says hi." Not. I bet Sergey feels like a real tool. As if that wasn't enough, this week's episode ends with David making a big decision. He realizes that Lana refuses to be physical with him. He understands that every time he says the phrase "I love you" to Lana, she refuses to reciprocate. This leads David to do only one thing: get down on one knee and ask that woman to marry him. He does just that in the middle of the airport, and guess what? Lana said yes! They're getting married. How do you like that, Sergey? Love is real because David and Lana are getting married, and private investigators who give bad news can suck it. And that's where we're left. Next week, we get the 90-day tell-all, which always includes one of my favorite phenomenons: 90 Day Fiancé cast members judging and criticizing each other as if they're not as bad as the person sitting next to them. It's amazing. We've already seen clips of Big Ed criticizing David, Big Ed criticizing Yolanda. Apparently, Avery from Ash and Avery knows British Tom, and Erica from Australia is going to fight somebody. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and it happens. Be here so we can dissect it all next week. Make sure you leave a comment letting me know not only what you're looking forward to, but watch the tell-all. Come back here and leave something in the comments so we can talk about it next week. Make sure you hit like on this video. Make sure you hit subscribe to the channel, and make sure you are right here next week when we dissect 90 Days once more. Goodbye.